participants to mute the audio. We are going to start the session. I request all the participants to mute the audio. Dear participants, we are going to start the webinar session. I request all the participants to mute the audio and please don't present anything in between the webinar. And if you have any doubts that you would like to ask with Amita ma'am, you could put raise your questions in the chat box. And at the end of the session, you will have a discussion time to discuss with Amita ma'am over the audio. But I request everyone to use the chat box itself. Amita ma'am will see the questions in the chat box and will reply to your questions through the audio. And dear participants, to record the attendance, we have a simple method that you are supposed to follow. Someone is not yet muted your audio, we can hear. Okay, so request all the participants to enter your name and the institutions that you represent in the chat box, so that this entry will be treated as an attendance record and e-certificate can be issued based on this attendance. At the end of the webinar, we could get this chat text separately in a notepad so that we could process it for the certification process. And the entire webinar is being recorded and it will be uploaded in the college channel.
Yes.
Yeah, ma'am, can we start the webinar process? Yeah, yes. I just want to introduce you to the entire participants.
Okay.
Professor Amita Pandey Bharadwaj is presently serving as a professor in the Faculty of Education, and she heads the project. She holds the office of the project head and the coordinator of the Teaching and Learning Center. And she is the responsible person, the coordinator and the coordinator for the refresher program through SWAYAM. Annual refresher program in teaching. That is the ARPIT course of Sri Lal Bahadur Shastri Rashtriya Sanskrit Vidyapeeth. That's a deemed university in New Delhi. And I was there with the ma'am for my induction program for 30 days. And she was guiding me and the entire batch for the induction program. And she works with the Department of Education from the last 19 years. And she has in her credit doctorate degrees in 2 fields, one in chemistry and another in education. She has more than 50 papers published in journals of both national and international levels. She has authored and co-authored several books in the area of education. She has served as an active member of the Board of Studies and Curriculum Committees of various courses of teacher education programs of different universities in India. In addition to this work, she has served as a resource person and the chief guest for a lot of workshops and seminars and the training programs organized throughout the country. And on those 30 days during my induction program, I felt that she was a wonderful mother to me and to everyone over there in the induction program. As a wonderful professor, I heartily welcome our beloved Professor Amita ma'am on behalf of Albertian Center for Human Resource Development and Research and the St. Albert's College Autonomous to this webinar, a webinar on action research for teachers. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Shine. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Very good afternoon and namaste to all of you. At the very outset, I welcome you all in this online session of Albertian Knowledge Webinar Series 2020. It gives me immense pleasure to be the part of this online program, and it's indeed a pleasant privilege to address such a learned and energetic audience like you. For this, I would like to thank the organizers, especially Professor Shine Anthony, for giving this wonderful learning opportunity. Today's presentation as you all know, it is on action research for teachers. So today's topic for our webinar series, it is action research for teachers. And this topic will mainly cover or highlight 5 points, that is the meaning of action research, characteristics of action research, importance of action research, nature of the problem taken in action research, and what is the procedure for conducting the action research. So before we start, I would like to have your kind attention to what J. Krishnamurti, the great philosopher, has said. There is no end to education. It is not that you read a book, pass an examination, and finish with education. The whole of life, from the moment you are born to the moment you die, is a process of learning. So we can say that education and learning both are lifelong process, and that's why we are here today. Action research also supports and advocates this gesture in teacher fraternity. To start with, first we must know what we mean by research. Research is basically an application of scientific method for the description, explanation, and prediction of various reality contexts. And when this problem, they are related to the education, we call it as educational research. So educational research is concerned with educational reality, and it attempts at systematically answering meaningful educational questions derived from these reality contexts. Now, what is action research? Action research is also called practitioner research, teacher research, or ameliorative research. It is a collaborative and investigative process where teachers work together to design and follow through with research on practical problems in the classroom. So we can say that action research is the systematic and planned inquiry by teachers about their own institution, departments, or their classroom work. Teachers are involved in the process of inquiry to improve their educational practices. Action research, as we can see the term, it is made up of two words, action and research. By action, we mean taking action to improve our practices, and practices, especially our educational practices. And research means finding things out and coming to the new understanding of that particular knowledge. And many psychologists have defined this research, and Stephen M. Covey.
ജസ്നേട്ടാ അതെ ആ ലിങ്കിൽ ക്ലിക്ക് ചെയ്യുമ്പോ ഞാൻ ഫോണിൽ ആദ്യം എടുത്തേ അപ്പോ ലിങ്കിൽ ക്ലിക്ക് ചെയ്യുമ്പോ അവര്
I'm
പറയുന്നത്
sorry. Could you please
downloading.
mute the audio? Participants, please don't disturb during the webinar. Please mute your audios.
So
Participants.
Stephen M. Covey, who first introduced action research in the field of education, he defined that action research is the process by which practitioners attempt to study their problems scientifically in order to guide, correct, and evaluate their decisions and actions. Another psychologist, Watts, in 1985, defined action research as a process in which participants examine their own educational practice systematically and carefully using the techniques of research, what we call it scientific method. Mills, in 2000, he described action research as a systematic inquiry done by teachers or other individuals in an educational setting to gather information about and subsequently improve the way particular educational setting operates, how they teach, and how well their students learn. Another definition from Elaine Ferencz describing action research is cycle of posing questions, gathering data, reflection, and deciding on a course of action plan. So we can say that action research is a small-scale intervention aimed at advancing the solution of problems arising from concrete reality education situations by application of scientific methods. And if in this statement we see the solution of problems from concrete. Concrete means what we see, which is visible. And where it is visible? It is visible in our reality, that is our day-to-day educational situations. And we have to find the solutions of these or such types of problem by applying scientific method. And by scientific method, we mean that we have to follow a systematic steps for finding the solution for that particular problem. So from all the definitions given by psychologists and other scholars and experts, we can conclude that action research, it focuses on the practical aspect of the problem. It focuses on immediate application of the results, which has been implied from our research study. And it studies concrete problems related to actual educational situations related to the practitioner, advances solution of the problem by application of scientific method, and the scope of the problem which has been taken in action research, it is very limited and narrow as compared to the other researches. It is planned and systematic effort by which the practitioner find out the solution of his day-to-day educational problems which he is facing in his educational day-to-day situations. It focuses on improvement in respect of decision-making and decision implementing strategies with relation to the classroom, then the classroom environment, institutional environment, and so on. Now, if we go to the characteristics of action research, it is a need-based action research. It is situational, self-evaluative, informal, ameliorative research, cyclic, and it has a flexible design. First, if we take, it is need-based. Need-based means that action research can be done only on the felt need of the practitioner. If the practitioner is not having the need for doing the research, then this research will not be conducted by the practitioner. So this research, it basically depends on the felt need by the practitioner that he really want to improve his day-to-day situation. Second is, this research, action research, it is situational. By situational, we mean that the situation in which the problem is seen, felt, or identified, the solution has to be found in that particular situation. So it means that where we are finding the solution, we are finding the problem, we have to find the solution in that setting, that educational setting, or in that particular educational context. So where, say, if we are seeing the problem in our BA or BSc first year student or MA first year student A section, then we have to find the solution in that in the same particular class. So this means situation. Third is that action research is self-evaluating. If we just compare with the other researches, here we are examining our research work from the experts. But in this type of research, since it is saying that it is self-evaluative, that means that it is being evaluated by the practitioner itself. That is, he is giving the hypothesis, he is giving the problem, he is giving the hypothesis, he is planning the action plan, and then the results which are coming, he is evaluating himself or herself whether the situation, the problematic situation, it has been improved or not, and if it has been improved, whether it is satisfactory or not. If the practitioner is satisfied, then he moves to the other problem. So here no other person is going to evaluate the work, but the practitioner himself will do the evaluation of the study which he will conduct through this mode, that is action research. Then the fourth characteristics, it is that this research, it is informal. By informal, we means that we are not getting any type of degree or some appreciation, because as we said, this is self-evaluative. That is, this research, it is aiming at improvement, and the research, it is being conducted in the very informal setting, that is the day-to-day situation of the practitioner. So by doing such type of research, the researcher or the practitioner, he is not getting any type of research. He is doing just because he wants to improve his day-to-day situation, he wants to improve his educational practices, and on the other hand, he is improving his professional competencies also. Then the fifth characteristics, that this research is ameliorative. Ameliorative means that this research is improvement oriented and it is pragmatic. Its goal is to improve the specific situation in relation to the usefulness, value, and effectiveness to the practitioner and those who are being the part of that particular situation in which the problem has been identified and looked upon. Then the very important characteristics of this action research, and I earlier in the first slide, I also mentioned the quote from J. Krishnamurti, that education is lifelong process, and if the teacher, he wants to become a good teacher and he is enthusiastic, he is sensitive, then this process, it is a never-ending process. This research is never-ending process. Cyclic means that this research is never-ending. First, if we find the solution of the first problem and the solution is satisfactory to the practitioner, he moves to the next problem. Again, he conducts the action research, and if the results are satisfactory, he moves to the another problem, and this process goes on and goes on. It never ends As J. Krishnamurthy has said, that learning is lifelong process, and action research is also a lifelong process. It is cyclic, it is a never-ending process. And in this process, the practitioner, he looks, think, act, and reflect on the particular problem which he has taken under the ambit of action research. Then the seventh characteristics, it is...
Ma'am?
Yes?
Ma'am, I could see your presentation, but many of the participants are asking for the presentations. I believe that...
I will send the PDF of this presentation. Okay.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay. Then the next characteristics of action research, that it has a flexible design. If we compare with the other fundamental or the applied research, there the design, which we call as synopsis, that once it has been formed, we can't change it. Here, the design, the action plan we make for the implementation of the hypothesis, for testing the hypothesis, it is highly flexible, that as we implement, as it is implemented by the practitioner, and if it is not yielding the results as per the results the practitioner wants, he can immediately change that design. So the design formed for the implementation of the action hypothesis and for conducting or advancing the solution of the problem in action research, it is highly flexible. So these are, we can say, some of the characteristics of action research, which indicates its the nature and the scope of problem which has to be taken under this type of thing. Now, next we move, what are the objectives of doing action research? So the objective of action research is to improve working culture where the teacher is working, improve the educational practices with which the teachers are associated, to enhance professional competencies of the practitioner, and practitioner may be a teacher, may be a principal, may be a head of the department, any educational, or he may be a manager, he may be a planner, he may be anything, or a course coordinator, anything. And the practitioner, he wants to improve his educational situation. Then the next objective, we can say, to solve the concrete problems which are arising from the day-to-day actual educational situation, that is, in which the practitioner, he is doing or he is living in that particular situation, educational situation. Then to improve the educational environment of the class and the institution, as well as the institution, and to make working people of the institution sensitive towards their duties and responsibilities. And this is one of the important objective of action research, which can be conducted by the principal or the head of the institutions. Now, what is the importance of action research? And if we say that this action research, it connects to the institutional improvement, it also improves, as we are already mentioned in the earlier slides also, it improves the educational practices, and especially the day-to-day practices, or we can say the practices with which the practitioner is associated. And for teacher empowerment, then capacity building, both for the teacher as well as for the institution at will level and skill level. And this will level, it increases the commitment level, while the skill level, it enhances the competency level of both the institutions, of the practitioners, which are being associated with this action research. And it connects theory with the practice. That is what we are seeing. It gives the practical solution of the problem. Then when we have to use action research, when we want to get solution for concrete problems that are the visible problems that are producing bottlenecks in our day-to-day working, and these problems, these concrete problems which are arising from our day-to-day real educational situations. And as well as we can do action research when we want to reflect on our own educational practices, we want to improve our educational practices, we want to enhance our professional competencies, and we want to become a good teacher. All the teachers, I think it is a dream of all teachers that they have to become a good teacher, but not by dreaming we can become a good teacher, but by practicing action research, we will, I think, of course, we can become a good and effective teacher.
Ma'am, sorry. Hello, ma'am.
Yes.
Yeah, madam, could you please once again share the screen? Anyway, I can see the screen and it is showing that you are presenting the screen, and I could see the nature of the problem in AIA. That's a slide that that I could see now. But some of the participants have asked that they can't see the screen and they are asking for you to share once more. So could you please stop share? I mean, click on the stop sharing and share once more, ma'am.
I'll connect it again.
Sorry for the inconvenience. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay.
And dear participants, please don't present anything in between. That is the case. Request all the participants not to present anything in between, and please mute your audios. Thank you, ma'am.
So I think all the participants can, it's visible, all the participants. We were here.
Yes, ma'am. Perfect.
Nature of the problem in action research. Because for conducting action research, we must know what type of problem we can take in action research. So the nature of the problem, we can say, the problem should be narrow and specific. It should be concrete. Concrete means that it should be visible. We can see it in our day-to-day educational settings or our day-to-day work. And it must be that problem, it must be rooted in our real educational situation. And it arises, that was the characteristics of this research also, that it arises on the basis of felt need. If you are not, having the need for doing this research, you can't do this research. So this is a very important criteria, the felt need of the practitioner. If there is felt need of the practitioner, then only he can conduct action research. And the problems which can be taken up in action research, they may be related to the areas, say it may be related to the student behavior, teacher behavior, teaching behavior, examination, test, co-curricular activities, institution management and administration, any program you have to conduct. That is any area which is being associated or with which you are associated in your day-to-day educational situations or settings. Now the main points for conducting action research, which you have to keep in mind. First, the practitioner who will conduct this research should be directly related with the problem. That means that this problem, it must be associated with your day-to-day educational situation. Second, the problem must be or should be related in the day-to-day educational context of the practitioners, and the problem should be concrete. Problem is abstract as well as concrete, but in action research, the form of the shape, the form of problem it is concrete. That means it is visible to the practitioner in his day-to-day setting. Now, how you will conduct this action research, what procedure you will follow, and in this process you have to follow certain steps. The first step, it is identification of the problem. And these steps, I have to mention that this is in the in a hierarchical order, and they start from concrete to abstract level. As we go from simple to, we can say, difficult. Okay, from simple to complex. So the first step, it is the identification of the problem. Second, defining and delimiting the problem. And third is analyzing the possible causes of the problem. And all these three, they form the diagnostic stage in which the practitioner diagnoses the problem, which is concrete and it is rooted in his real educational setting. So these three steps: identification of the problem, defining and delimiting of the problem, and analyzing the plausible causes of the problem. These three steps, they constitute the diagnostic stage. Then the next step, it is formulating action hypothesis. On the basis of the possible causes, the practitioner formulates the action hypothesis, and for implementation of the action hypothesis, he plans out an action plan, and after implementation of the action plan, the results are being evaluated. This is the sixth step, result evaluation. And all these three, formulating action hypothesis, action plan, and result evaluation, it forms the therapeutic stage. So the process for doing or conducting action research comprises of two stages: diagnostic stage and therapeutic stage. In diagnostic stage, three steps are followed by the practitioner: identification of the problem, defining and delimiting the problem, analyzing the possible causes of the problem. And in the second, therapeutic stage, where the remedy for that a diagnosed problem is advanced by three steps: formulating of action hypothesis, action plan, and then result evaluation. Now we will be discussing all these steps in detail. First step, it is identification of the problem. Now, as a teacher or the practitioner in our classes, we come across a number of problems, but identifying or seeing the problem is itself is a problem. We are blind towards about all the problems. And if we ask any teacher that have you any problem in your classroom, he will always reply, no problems. That means we are blind to the problem. There are always number of problems in our classroom, but we can't see. For seeing those problems, we have to be an objective look towards those problems. And this objective view, or we can say an scientific look about the problem, and this can be developed if the teacher or the practitioner, he is sensitive towards his situation, his classroom situation, is every moment which is being in the classroom. So you have to be very sensitive, as a, you can say, a soldier on the border. He is very sensitive, very alert. So as a teacher, you have to be in a very alert or very sensitive towards each and every action of your students when you are taking the class. And when you are doing this, what you have to do to carry out this step, you have to think of your work situation, in what capacity you are working, and what is your role and role perception. Ask yourself what I'm expected to do in that particular role, and what should I achieve in such a situation. And second, what are the specific problems which seems to create bottleneck in my day-to-day functioning. So by having a very sensitive, or we can say an objective view about the problems, and we just probe into that situation, those problems, those we can say number of problems, they start becoming visible to the practitioner. So if you are neutral towards your educational setting, you are sensitive towards your educational setting, you give an objective look towards your educational situation or the classroom situation, what is going on or what is happening in the situation, and then the problems which you think they are the bottlenecks in your teaching work, or in your communication, or in anything which you are conducting in your classroom, they become visible. And those problems, they take the shape of the problem which you can take up in your action research. So by seeing the problem in a wider perspective, now you have to move to the second step, that is, you have to define and delimit the problem. Defining and delimiting, I think there is some problem. Defining means stating the problem in clear and specific forms, that is, the terms which has been used in the problem statements. If they are giving more than two or more than two meanings, then you have to clarify that the meaning. And the delimiting means you have to pinpoint the problem. That is, you have to pinpoint that where you have to conduct the problem, that is with reference to your class, your section, your subject which you are taking. Say for example, if we take the problem, say take one problem, lack of interest in the participants of the faculty induction program organized by Teaching Learning Center under Pandit Madan Mohan Malviya National Mission on Teachers and Teaching Scheme. So say if we take the problem, this problem, then the second step, that is defining, that is the lack of interest. What we mean by this term lack of interest? So in defining the term, this, which is the second step, we have to define, or what we mean, that is the practitioner means lack of interest. So lack of interest means, that is the participant, they are asking irrelevant questions, they are not paying attention, they are looking here and there in the sessions. Okay, so for these, you are representing it as a lack of interest. And then the second thing you have to do, that is you have to delimit the problem, that is you have to pinpoint the problems so that you can focus the study area of your study. And in delimiting, we say that we are having the number of FIPs, but we are taking the participants which are associated with the faculty induction program number 2, and we are having the number of TLC centers, and we are taking the TLC associated with Shri Lal Bahadur Shastri Sanskrit Vidyapeeth, New Delhi. Okay, so that is the ambit of our study of doing this action research where the practitioner is associated. We have to clarify, or through this, delimiting the problem. And if you are a teacher, you are taking some class, so you will in delimiting steps, you will take that particular class, the subject you are taking with that class, and the section which you are taking with that class, you have to mention in this delimiting. That is where, when we are saying that it is situational, that is in which class, in which subject, we may be teaching more than one subject. So we have to be very specific about in which subjects we are facing this type of problem in our class, for which we have to take the action research. So the first step, you have to identify the problem and say, for example, we have taken so here, say as a course coordinator and being the practitioner of doing the action research, I'm taking this problem, that is lack of interest in the participant of any, we can say, the program organized by our institution. So the second step, after defining and delimiting the problem, the practitioner analyzes the possible causes. What should be the possible causes so that they can give direction to formulate our action hypothesis. So for analyzing the possible causes, we have to do certain activities. That is, we have to say, if we have taken this type of problem, then we have to discuss with other resource persons, course coordinators, and other functionaries. But if we are a teacher, we can discuss with other colleagues which are taking that particular class, and they are teaching some other subject, that particular class, and taking the opinion of the participants or the students, as the case may be, then administering any test if needed. If we are taking the interest, we can administer interest test or interest Likert rating scale. Or if we are say taking the problem that they are not understanding, we can have the achievement test. We can administer achievement test or performance test or value test. So as the test will be in relation with the problem which we have identified for the problem. So we are taking the example, the lack of interest. So here the test may pertain to the test for this interest test. And then we will list down all the possible causes, and then from all the possible causes, we will shortlist 4 or 5, which are, we can say, the main, or we can say with our experience that they are the main or the key possible causes for this particular problem. So we will list down that. And the needed concern while listing all these causes, we have to take into consideration that the cause which has been shortlisted, it must be logical, it must be relevant, it must be testable, it must be specific, it must be real, authentic, and last but not least, it must be under your control. It must be under your control. That is, it must pertain. Say if you have stated the cause that in their family they are not doing this, or their parents they are not doing. So if you have to conduct, or you are formulating the action plan or design, then how you can conduct this type of houses or a student. So you have to take only those causes which are under your control. Now, how you will collect or analyze this data? For analyzing or collecting the causes or the data from the sources, there are 3 E's in action research. One is experiencing, inquiring with the students or the participants which are being associated with the problem, and then examining the records, say their copies, their notebooks, their assignments, their projects. And from experiencing, the first is from experiencing, that is from observing and taking field notes. You can directly talk with the participants or the students through observation, by active or as an active observer or passive. By active, we mean that you just directly ask the student, and by passive observer, that you become the part and parcel of that particular situation, or you just put an informer in that particular who can give you the all informations regarding your teaching or their problems which they are facing in their classroom. Then second E is inquiring, that is asking your students for information through interviews, through formal interviews, or you can through questionnaires, through open ears, attitude scale, through interest scales, through standard by administering standardized tests. You can inquire through this, and then examining the documents pertaining or which is appropriate to the problem which you have selected. So the choice of data source depends on the question or the problem which you have taken, the time and resources, and availability of this individuals and sources of information. So you have to take into consideration in this that which is more suitable or appropriate, and by doing this you can shortlist your possible causes with their evidences. Say for the example which we have taken, the causes may be that in the program mostly lecture method was used by all the resource persons, and the evidence for this possible cause, it may be that by seeing the program schedule or inquiring by the participants. Then the second possible cause may be that the participants, they are not able to make out from most of the presentations, that is they are not understanding, and the evidence was by inquiring the participants, they told that they have the language problem, they were not understanding English or they were not understanding Hindi. So this may this you just got from the inquiry, or you by administering an open ear also. Then the third possible cause, it may be the objective of all the participation was to only get the certificate for career as advancement thing, and this it is I think all the participants mainly they join some program only to get the certificate. Only few are those which really want to learn from that particular program. And this we can the evidence for this possible clause that by non-participatory observation technique, that is you just have some informer in the participants, and that participant he asks the questions which have to him, and then he puts the question in the book answers the question, and you get the problem that they only and from that you get the information that they have only come to get the certificate for this program. So these there may be some other causes also, but for example I have listed some few for your understanding. So suppose if we take the possible cause, say most of the lectures which were in the program was used by the RPs were only the lecture method. That is, it was only monologue. Okay. So the next step, that is the formulating of action hypothesis. Now these steps they are the basis for the next step. Now the possible causes which have been identified the practitioners, and the 3 or 4 causes which have been shortlisted by the practitioner, on any one of that cause, the practitioner will formulate the action hypothesis. So first we mean by what we mean by hypothesis, and then we will take the action hypothesis. So hypothesis is nothing but it is a tentative statement which advances the solution or which tells the solution of that particular problem, and they are being stated in different forms. And when we are talking about the action hypothesis, it is again a tentative statement having 2 parts, action part and the goal part, and it is written in the conditional form if then. The action part is called proposed action and the goal part is called anticipated consequence. The action part, that is the proposed part, that is what I will do so that this will happen. That is, this is the anticipated consequence, that is these students or the participant, they start taking interest in my classroom. So the goal part, it is indicating the problem, and this action part, it is giving the solution, what you will do for finding the solution of that proposed problem. So this action hypothesis is nothing but it is also a statement, a tentative statement which states the solution of the problem, and it has two parts, action part and goal part. Action part is the proposed action, that is the solution for that problem, and the goal part, that is the anticipated consequence, that is related with the problem which we have identified. And this hypothesis, it is written in the conditional form, if and then. For example, the cause, if we take the first cause we have, which we have mentioned, that lecture method was used by the RPs. If we consider this as the cause for the problem, for not taking interest by the participants in FIP, then the proposed action for the action in the action hypothesis may be if the presentations of resource persons are supplemented or coupled with hands-on practice sessions, then the participants will start taking interest. So this one hypothesis I have formulated just for your understanding. So this red portion, if presentation of the RPs are supplemented with hands-on practice session, it is the action part or the proposed action of our action hypothesis, and then the participants will start taking interest. It is the anticipated consequence against this proposed action. Now, how we have to implement this action hypothesis, or we have to test this hypothesis. So we will move to the next step, that is, we have to develop an action plan for implementation of action hypothesis. Now, the action plan has mainly 4 components. First is the proposed activities, second is the method, third is needed means, and fourth is tentative time.
Ma'am, sorry. Can you please share the screen once more? I'm sorry.
Okay.
Request all the participants not to present anything in between, because it will intercept the presentations. Please. Dr. Patlo Komkar, please don't present anything.
This option is not coming. I think some of the participants, I think they have opened the present now option there.
Ma'am, you could click there so that you can take over. Click on Dr. Patlo Tomkar is presenting, then you can take over that. Sorry, ma'am.
Okay, now
yes.
The next step, that is for implementing the action hypothesis or for testing that action hypothesis, the practitioner has to develop an action plan. And in the action plan, there are 4 components: proposed activities, method, needed means, and tentative time. By proposed activities, we mean that the action part of the action hypothesis, how we will implement in our day-to-day, in our real classroom setting, okay, or in our real educational setting, what we will do, what action we will do, and that action, it has to be presented in the form of proposed activities. That is, what we will do, what activities we will do, we have to highlight in the first component. Then how we will do that activity in the classroom when we will implement the action hypothesis, that is what is the procedure, and that is depicted in this second component, that is the method. So method is nothing but it is describing how you will do the proposed activity, or how you will conduct that proposed activity in the actual situation. And when you are doing this or conducting this activity, this proposed activity, what means or sources or aids do you want? That we have to mention in the third component. And when we will doing this activity, how much time, and this time may be in terms of the classes or it may be in terms of the hours, you can mention it. So these are your the 4 components which will form your action plan for implementation of the action hypothesis. Now for the example which we have taken, now say the proposed activities for the action part of the action hypothesis, and the action part was that if the presentations were coupled with hands-on practices, then okay, so hands-on practices. Now what will we have to propose activities for hands-on practices. So first proposed activity will be listing the type of hands-on practice, say the discussion or brainstorming session or some assignment work or any assigned task or lab work, any type of proposed. So we can list down the proposed activities as per the nature of the topics which has been decided in that particular program. And what will be the method? By consultation and holding discussions with the concerned resource persons which are taking those lectures. And the means, needed means, say telephonically or through mail or by sending open air to the resource persons. And the tentative time, say approximately 1 hour. Okay, no problem, Shine.
Dear participants, in case if this has been repeated, I will be forced to remove the concerned participants. I'm really sorry for that. With due respect, I'm really sorry. Please, ma'am, continue, please.
Okay. So in the first proposed activities, that we have to list down what type of hands-on practice we will take or conduct, or to implement the action part of our action hypothesis. After identifying the type of hands-on practice, the second proposed activity, that is conducting the decided type of hands-on practice session with the lecture which with that particular resource person. And what is the method? The resource person will instruct, guide, supervise, and monitor the assigned hands-on practice to the participants. And the needed means needed for conducting this hands-on practice, as decided by the resource persons, the participants may be provided sheets to do that work. Or if the work is related to the labs, then he may go to the computer lab or psychology lab or language lab, any case as the case may be. And if it is the task they have to do from laptop or from smartphone. So these are the needed means as per the decided type of hands-on practice decided by the concerned resource persons. And for this, say the tentative time, we can say 2 hours daily for 1 week. Because this faculty induction program, it is of 1 month, so we can give 2 hours daily for 1 week for conducting this hands-on practice which the resource person has identified. Then the third proposed activity, it may be that after conducting the hands-on practice, it may be followed by individual or group presentation as it has been decided by the resource person in his or her instructions. Then the participant will present or submit the assigned work in that particular session, and the needed means, if it is a PowerPoint, then the projectors, or they may present through charts, And for making the charts, they may need markers, scale, pen, mic, pen, pencil, rubber, and mic for presenting their presentations. And this we can say, we can take this 1 hour daily for 1 week. And when they are doing this, the feedback and assessment of the presentation by the resource person, and the method may be graded or marks-based rubric assessment already made by the resource persons or the course coordinator. And the needed means, this is the assessment sheet which may be developed by the resource person or by the course coordinator in consultation with the resource person. And this proposed activity, it will be conducted simultaneously when this third activity is being conducted. So this is, we can say, a tentative action plan for implementing the action hypothesis. And by after implementation, we can say what is the result. So we will do now, if we can calculate the tentative time, say 2 hours daily. So for 1 week, we are devoting 3 hours, we can say, per day. So we can calculate the time for implementation of this, we can say, action plan. And if we think, or while implementing, we are saying that it is not yielding the appropriate results, then the course coordinator or the resource person may change this activity, may change this proposed activity, as the case may be. Okay, so after implementation for 1 week, the last step, it is the result evaluation. So result evaluation will see the extent by comparing the pre-status and the post-status. That is the status before, when we have seen the problem, and the post-status when we have implemented the action plan. Okay. And for doing this result analysis, we can use number of evaluation methods as per the needs, or which we think it is suitable or relevant for that particular result evaluation. Say we can do the evaluation through observation. Then this observation may be participatory or non-participatory, through open ear, through questionnaire, through checklist, through rating scale. We can also develop an objective type test, or essay type test, oral test, practical test, or by statistical methods. So we can see which of this method is appropriate, suitable, or which matches, or we can say which is relevant for analyzing the results of our action plan which we have conducted. So say, for example, in this particular example which we have taken, we have given a pre-test when we have seen the problem, and then we found that the 80% of the participants, they were not interested. And after going through the all steps, that is formulating the action hypothesis, then implementing the action hypothesis, and then the implementing our action plan, we again conducted conducted we can say the test based on test, or we can say an Likert scale, interest based Likert scale, and we found that now only 10% of participants, they are not interested. Now if we compare the pre-status and the post-status, before they were 80% and now it has been reduced to the 10%. So there is a, we can say, improvement in the situation in conducting the FIP. In earlier, there were 80% of the participants, they were not interested, and after the implementation of our action plan, we found that only 10% of the participants, now they are not found to be not interested. That means the situation it is quite satisfactory and we can move to the next problem. So it depends whether the practitioner he is satisfactory or not. He has to evaluate himself or herself, and that is the self-evaluative, and we have talked about it in the characteristics of action research also. So by comparing the pre-status and the post-status, we can evaluate the results, and by evaluating means that we are just seeing the extent to which our action hypothesis has been tested and the results has been found to be satisfactory. So we have to follow these 6 steps, as we have to, we can say, step the ladder. So first we have to step the first step, then we move to the second. In the same way, when we have to conduct action research, we have to first do the first step, then we have to move to the second, and the second step, it forms the basis for the third step. Third step, that is analyzing the possible causes. It forms the basis for the fourth step, which is formulating the action hypothesis. And the action hypothesis, it forms the basis for the fifth step, that is developing action plans for the implementation of action hypothesis. And this step, it forms the basis for result evaluation, which is the last step for conducting this type of research. So by following these 6 steps, we can conduct action research. Hope you have understood it. So in a nutshell, we can say that action research is the research of the practitioner. Action research is the research for the practitioner, and action research is the research by the practitioner. And in one word, we can say that in action research, or we can say the mool mantra of action research is our problem, our solution. So before ending my presentation, I would like to convey my best wishes to all the participants and the organizers for their future endeavors. And thank you for the patience hearing. Thank you all. Let's improve our educational practices by practicing action research. Now we can take up the queries if you have.
Hello, madam.
Yes, any
Good
queries
afternoon.
from the participants?
My name is Sandeep.
Yeah.
I'm assistant professor in a college.
Yes.
Okay, I would like to know about, is there any simple tips to make our teaching more interesting?
See, the simple tip
Can you
is
get me?
that you have to practice or make a part and parcel of doing this action research or practicing action research. It is, I think, it is
Practicing
a friend
action.
to the teachers, and you have to just follow these steps. Okay, so
Okay.
you have to, you can say you have to integrate in your day-to-day educational setting.
Okay.
Dear participants, in case you have any queries, please ask through the chat. In case if NTR 185 have some questions, and if everyone is going to start audio conversation, then it will be a mess. Request everyone to use the chat box to raise any questions or the discussion topics.
I think one question was, can we form only hypothesis only? I think one question was whether we can use action research for PhD work. No, you can have the cases which had been conducted under action research, and as a case study, you can do it for your PhD work. But as such, you can't do action research for your PhD work. For PhD, you have to do the applied research or fundamental research. The one question was how we can motivate our students to do action research. So I think first, as a teacher, we have to practice this action research in our practices. Then only we can motivate our students by quoting the examples which we have done. The example which I have given you in my presentation, this research I had already done in my one of the program, and the activities which I proposed, then when we did the hands-on practice, all the participants, they started taking interest in our programs. So this was the research already conducted by me in one of my programs. One was asking what is the ethical concern. So ethical concern, you have to be honest, I think, with yourself. You don't have to do just the formalities. So if you are doing in the first step only, I had told you that it is need-based. If you have no need, then you can't do action research. So if you want to become a good teacher, you want to become an effective teacher, you want to improve your practices, you want to make your situations better and better, then I think this is the very promising methodology or the strategy which you can use for your in your educational practices. And that's why we call this action research as a great friend of teachers also. Sandeep, the question from Sandeep, whether this action research is, I think it has gone. Action question. There is one question from Sandeep Anaj, that is action research is only for self-development. No, as I had already said, that action research, on one hand, it improves our day-to-day or our educational practices. On the other, it improves our professional development also. It improves the working culture. It improves the working culture of our institution also. So if the teachers, they are practicing in action research, they are enhancing or they are improving their practices, and by improving their practices, they are enhancing their competencies, they are enhancing their skills, and this will lead to the enhancing of the, or you can say, the capacity building of our institution also. So indirectly, we can say we are building capacity building of institution also. रंजन पटेल का क्वेश्चन था कि क्रियात्मक अनुसंधान के प्रकार को भी बताने की कृपा करें। तो प्रकार इसलिए नहीं बताए गए क्योंकि हमारा अभी मेन फोकस जो था वो था कि आप क्रियात्मक अनुसंधान का प्रयोग अपने कक्षाओं में कर सकें, अपने जो दिन प्रतिदिन की आपकी शैक्षिक परिस्थितियां हैं उसमें प्रयोग कर सकें। इसलिए इस प्रेजेंटेशन में प्रकार को नहीं लिया गया। वैसे क्रियात्मक अनुसंधान दो प्रकार का होता है, एक होता है प्रैक्टिकल बेस्ड और एक होता है पार्टिसिपेटरी बेस्ड। प्रैक्टिकल बेस्ड में जिसमें हम इमीडिएट हमको रिजल्ट चाहिए होता है जो कि हमारे डे टू डे सिचुएशन से रिलेटेड होती है, और पार्टिसिपेटरी जिसमें हम कोई सोशल इशू या कोई एजुकेशनल कॉमन इशू को लेकर एक्शन रिसर्च करते हैं। सुनील दुबे का क्वेश्चन था कि क्रियात्मक शोध गुणात्मक और मात्रात्मक दोनों रूपों में एक ही समस्या के लिए कर सकते हैं। हाँ, ये हमारा निर्भर करेगा कि जो हमने समस्या ली और उसमें जो हमने अपना कार्य योजना बनाई 5वें सोपान के अंतर्गत, उसमें जो हमने टेस्ट दिया उसमें जो टेस्ट से हमारे पास जो डेटा आया, डेटा की प्रकृति कैसी है, गुणात्मक है तो आप फिर गुणात्मक रूप में उसका विश्लेषण करेंगे, और अगर मात्रात्मक जैसे आपने ऑब्जर्वेशन के थ्रू किया तो आपके पास डेटा जो है गुणात्मक के रूप में आएगा, तो आपको एनालिसिस भी उसके रूप में होगी। लेकिन आपने कोई टेस्ट प्रशासित किया है, सपोज आपने एटीट्यूड स्केल पर प्रशासित किया है, तो आप उसको सबमिटेड स्कोर्स में कन्वर्ट कर और एक मात्रात्मक रूप में उस प्रदत्त का विश्लेषण कर सकते हैं। तो हम दोनों रूपों में ही, गुणात्मक और मात्रात्मक दोनों रूपों में ही कर सकते हैं। एक क्वेश्चन है, एक्शन रिसर्च में आरआर देना जरूरी होता है? आरआर क्लियर नहीं है कि क्या पूछा है। Tripti, if there are less improvement after evaluation, then what should the practitioner do? See, as I had already told you that this research is self-evaluative. It totally depends on the decision taken by the practitioner. If the practitioner is satisfactory with that particular percentage, say in the example we have taken that in the pre-status it was 80% of the participants which were not interested, but in the post-status it was only say 10%. Say it may be 40%. Now it has been reduced. So it depends upon the practitioner whether he is satisfied with the improvement or not. If he is not satisfied with the improvement, then he can change his action plan and then again implement it until he gets the satisfactory results. Then Jisha Nair, action research will promotes testing of new ideas in education. No, it only improves or takes the concrete problems, or we can say it advances the solution for only those type of problems which are concrete and which are rooted or which are arising from the day-to-day educational context of the practitioner. Then the next question, can you share some sample feedback and assessment sheets? For assessment sheets, see, it depends upon which type of test or what type of assessment you are doing. Say if you are conducting a hands-on practice on, say, presentation, PowerPoint presentation, the topic has been given by the, say, resource person. Then when it is being assessed in the rubrics form by the resource person, then he may give rubrics as the presentation style, then the content which has been taken up in the present, then the presentation mean. If he is doing the PowerPoint, he will give more number, or if he is presenting to the chart, how he is presenting only by simply lecture method. So the presentation style, then the content which he is presenting, and you can make another rubric, the time allotted to the group or the individual, whether he has presented in that particular time frame. So you can just give these rubrics, and then you can assign the number, or you want to grade it, and you grade it and then just total it up, and it will come out for your group presentation or for the individual who has presented. And now there's one question from Tripti Singh that if there are less improvement after evaluation, then what should the practitioner do? Again, I will say that if the practitioner thinks that he is satisfied with the situation, he can move on to the next problem. And if he thinks that he is not satisfied, he can change, or you can say redesign his action plan and then implement it. Then there is one question from Lakshmi that is it necessary to do any statistics to prove the change in the problem? Do any statistics to prove the change in the problem? The question is not clear. Say you have to see the problem, okay? And when you are implementing your action plan, so it will depend upon what type of activity you have selected or identified in your action plan, and on the basis of that particular activity, you will use whether your statistical methods, they are applicable for analyzing those results or not. Then there's one question from Pragati, difference between practice and action-based research. So action research, that is you are taking action, or you are just doing something to advance the solution, and how you are doing that something by application of the scientific method. Then one question from Masook Mirza, where can we apply this research? You can apply in your day-to-day problems, the day-to-day your education, the problems which you are facing in your day-to-day educational settings. That is, these problems, they may be related to your classes which you are taking in various subjects, okay? Then any other assigned work which you are taking, say if you have given the assignment, or you are the course coordinator of organizing many programs, then you can have the problem from that area also. But as a teacher, you can have the problems from your class, from the type of assessment you are conducting in the class, or you are organizing some activity, or you can say you are organizing some co-curricular activities, or any other, we can say, work which is being associated by you in your daily works. So from those, you can take the problem which is concrete. There are two aspects of the problem. One is the theoretical and one other is the practical. And as I have already mentioned, that in action research, we focus on the practical aspect of the problem. So we have to focus, if your focus is on the practical aspect, you can take that particular problem with which you are associated. Then action research are fundamental or applied? No, action research is neither fundamental nor applied research. Okay, it is the another type of research. And the focus, the nature of the problem, and the design of the problem, then the generalization, from all these angles, and how we are using the results from on the basis of all these, this action research is different when we compare with the fundamental or the applied research. In the fundamental research, we are just advancing, or our focus is on theory building, theory testing, or advancement of knowledge. In applied research, we are using, our focus is on the extent to which this new knowledge is to be applied, the extent to which it can be applied in the given situations. Whereas the focus of action research is purely improvement. Improvement in the current practices or the educational practices. So the main, we can say, the goal or the aim of action research is improvement, and that's why it is called ameliorative research or improvement oriented research, where we have to improve our decisions taken and the actions taken. Whether there is an underpinning assumptions in action research, I had already mentioned that there are some criteria when we can conduct this research. The practitioner must be related with, associated with the problem, directly with the problem. Okay, and the nature of the problem, it must be specific, narrow, limited, and concrete, and must be, you can say, rooted in the real educational setting of the practitioner. सुनील दुबे का प्रश्न है, एक ही कक्षा में एक समस्या के लिए केस स्टडी और क्रियात्मक शोध कर सकते हैं तो इसके परिणाम अलग अलग होंगे। हाँ, ये किया जा सकता है, केस स्टडी भी आप कर सकते हैं, दैट इज द डिफरेंट मेथड, और क्रियात्मक शोध भी कर सकते हैं। लेकिन अगर आपकी समस्या सेम है, केस स्टडी हम एक पर्टिकुलर केस के ऊपर करेंगे, जबकि एक्शन रिसर्च में जो प्रॉब्लम होगी वो हमारी जर्नल प्रॉब्लम होगी, क्लास से जुड़ी हुई, जिसमें हमारे ज्यादातर बच्चे उस क्लास के होंगे। तो यहाँ पर समस्या जो है डिफरेंट हो जाएगी। केस स्टडी में हम एक केस को लेकर और फिर उसकी डिटेल स्टडी करते हैं, तो रिजल्ट एक जैसे नहीं होंगे, अलग अलग होंगे। हाउ टू डिस्क्राइब इट इन प्रपोजल एज मेथड। एक्शन रिसर्च के प्रपोजल्स भी बने होते हैं और एनसीईआरटी द्वारा इस पर बहुत कार्य किया गया और इस पे प्रपोजल्स भी एक्शन रिसर्च बेस्ड मांगे गए, और उसका एक वो पूरा प्रारूप है जिसमें पहले हमने क्या समस्या ली, उस समस्या का क्या महत्व है, उसकी पृष्ठभूमि को दर्शाया जाता है, और फिर उस समस्या का हम परिभाषित करेंगे, उसको डिलिमिट करेंगे, उसके क्या क्या कारण हो सकते हैं, किस प्रकार करेंगे, हमारी एक्शन प्लान होगा और उसके लिए कितना हमारा समय लगेगा, वो संभावित समय देंगे। और साथ ही साथ जब हम प्रोजेक्ट बनाते हैं तो उसमें एक टाइम का और दूसरा जो है हम क्या अमाउंट हमारा लगेगा, उस अमाउंट को भी, अगर आप किसी एजेंसी से ले रहे हैं तो उस अमाउंट को भी हमको दर्शाना पड़ता है। और लेकिन अगर हम स्वयं अपनी संस्था के लिए कर रहे हैं तो वहाँ अमाउंट वाला जो इशू है वो हम नहीं दर्शाते। और फिर कैसे करेंगे, वो जो आपको हमने 6 स्टेप बताए हैं, उन 6 स्टेप को इस परियोजना के दायरे में लेना पड़ता है, और फिर जो हमारे रिजल्ट्स आते हैं उसको जो अनुसंधानकर्ता की टिप्पणी के रूप में प्रपोजल के एंड में जो है वो बताएंगे। फिर राजमोहन का और कोई क्वेश्चन मेरे ख्याल अब नहीं है। कोई ऐसा क्वेश्चन है जो छूट गया है अभी? So, thank you all. Once again, thank you all. And thank you, Shine, also for giving this opportunity. And thanks for appreciating my lecture, my presentation. So should we end now?
Ma'am, hello, ma'am.
Yes, Shine.
My dear participants and respected ma'am, it is a great pleasure for us that you have joined for the webinar with the entire participants and with the St. Albert's College Autonomous. So on behalf of the St. Albert's College Autonomous and all the participants, I thank ma'am for presenting the wonderful webinar on action research for teachers. I believe that it was a very fruitful sessions. Based on the questions, we could understand how it was beneficial for all the participants. So on behalf of the St. Albert's College Autonomous and on behalf of the center and behalf of all the participants, everyone is thank you. I mean, everyone is sharing thanks to you. I can see the chats coming.
I can also see.
So on behalf of everyone, all the participants, I believe that there were around 190 participants joined with us. So on behalf of all the participants, I wholeheartedly thank beloved Professor Amita ma'am for her wonderful presentation. Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you.
And my dear participants, you are one of the best in the country, and I believe that the knowledge that you have gained will strengthen the knowledge community. And on behalf of the St. Albert's College Autonomous and Albitian Center for Human Resource Development and Research, I extend our sincere gratitude and thanks to all the participants. I request one more time that in case if you have not recorded the attendance, please introduce yourself with the institution's name. That will be treated as attendance. Repeat, uh, please introduce yourself. That is your name followed by the institution that you are representing. That will be treated as the attendance. Please text that in the chat window. So once again, thank you very much. End of the webinar. Thank you very much, ma'am.
Given attendance.
After recording the attendance, you could leave the webinar. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Request all the participants to stay tuned. We have some more webinars that is going to happen. I believe that we will have at least one webinar till May 1st. And in case if it is anyway related with the faculties, I mean with the teaching staff members, I will definitely inform you all. Thank you very much. You could end the webinar in case if you have recorded your attendance. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the kind presentation and this initiative. We would all thank you, sir. Thank you for the wonderful presentation, and the class was very informative. And we all thank you for this initiative and do the very much better for us. Thank you very much.
It's not my personal initiative. It's a initiative of St. Albert's College Autonomous. I am given the responsibility to coordinate it. That's it. Thank you very much, sir.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much.
Dear participants, in case if you have recorded the attendance, you could end the webinar. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for your cooperation, sir.
Oh, thank you, sir. Yes, once you have recorded your attendance, you can leave. Thank you very much. Dear participants, in case if you have recorded the attendance, you could leave. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Hello. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you, sir.
हेलो हेलो सर जी सर
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
सर एक क्वेश्चन था एक आपसे एक जानकारी थी सर
Yeah, क्या
हेलो
है आप सर? Yeah, बोलिए
ये
सर.
सर ये सर्टिफिकेट का क्या प्रोसेसिंग है सर
Sir, within 10 to 15 days of the consent seminar, the certificates will be emailed to your registered email ID. You will receive in your email.
यस इससे कोई फीडबैक भी करना है सर
Yeah,
कोई फीडबैक भी
yes, sir. It will come to your email.
Okay, sir.
ओके
Thank you.
थैंक यू सर वेरी
Thank
मच
you, sir. Thank you. Thank you. Definitely, Dinesh, sir, we will have more webinars. Thank you, sir. We have 23 more participants to leave. Thank you very much, everyone. You could introduce yourself. That means you could mark the attendance, then you could leave. आपकी नाम and institution's name. Those are the things that you have to record. Thank you, Monica. The feedback will be mailed to you. The questions will be mailed to you. You could respond to that link. Thank you. Oh, thank you, Alokita. Thank you. दुबे साहब, गुड इवनिंग. कैसे हैं आप?
मैं बहुत सही हूँ सर.
Nice to see you here, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Science sir, this is Praveen Kumar calling from Greater Noida, UP.
Oh, yes, sir.
Sir, actually, I just want to ask about the certificate, sir.
It will be
When it would be issued, sir?
be mailed to you within 10 to 15 days of the concerned webinars. We have minimum on all these days we have scheduled at least one seminar till May 1st.
Yeah.
So our team is working on this thing. So don't worry on that certificate part. You will be receiving it within 10 to 15 days of the concerned seminar. Webinar.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, sir. Thank you very much, science sir. Thank you.
Thank you for joining, Vidyasagar. Thank you very much. Dear participants, the webinar have, it's end. In case if you have recorded the attendance, you can leave the webinar, the room. Thank you. Dr. Nishar, ma'am, could you please add the institution's name too? Anita ma'am acknowledged. I saw Smita ma'am joining. Thank you. Dear participants, the webinar have been ended. Please record your attendance. That means enter the name and your institution name in the chat box. That's the attendance. Thank you.
हेलो
Yeah, Rajesh sir, बोलिए sir. Hello.
जी सर डॉक्टर राजेश कुमार
Yeah, yes sir.
पीजी कॉलेज
Yeah.
सिकंदरपुर बलिया असिस्टेंट प्रोफेसर डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ
सर
एजुकेशन
आपको वहाँ चैट बॉक्स पर टाइप करना होगा सर.
अच्छा जी
That is the proof of attendance, not the audio.
ओके
Thank you, sir.
थैंक
In the chat, click on the chat. There you have to write your name and the institution that you represent. Thank you, sir.